And what's the point of this? Yeah, the thing is, you can climb by doing this, yes, but it doesn't make you a better player. Like, I can log on and play top lane and just run down side lane even without inting Scion and climb. Does it make me a better player? No. However, there's people, or are people out there, that have a personal interest in just getting better. Like, some people find enjoyment through improvement, and this is meant for them. And all the other people, you're more than welcome to play all of the things that will inflate your elo. I will talk. Okay. Let's just close this for a second, and let's talk about how to inflate your elo speedrun edition. Okay, Western server, MM issue, player population issue. Like, it's a multifaceted issue. Okay, we can all agree on that one. Most of the time, if you play ranked, you play versus Master GM, regardless of your own elo in Master Plus. So if you're Chell, if you're Soph, you play mostly versus Master and GM. And now I just hit you with the truth. They suck. They suck. It's not meant to be mean or rude. They just suck. They should never be allowed to be in the same games as a Challenger and Sovereign player, because they don't know what to do. What is OP against people who don't know what to do? Champions that scale because they're unpunished. For example, on the European server, there's one champion which has a major issue in the entirety of the game, and that is Kayle Jungle. Kayle Jungle is the perfect example of how to inflate your elo. Kayle Jungle, inherently not a good champ, weak early, mid game, strong late game. Every team jungler can literally stomp Kayle and put her billions of gold behind. I know it's mentally draining, so I'm just telling you the easiest way of inflating your elo. So we basically got this one covered. And Kayle is just one example of a champion, just one example. This one doesn't work on the Chinese server. People talk to people on the Chinese server and they ask them, why isn't Kayle played? She just gets shat on. So the question is, why is Kayle not shat on the European server? Are the European Kayles just superior players? Or is the European ranked quality just so bad? Yeah, it's absolutely frustrating to play. So you have these champions, but how do they win? Nobody ends games knows how to end games. So for example, how do you play against a Kayle? Let's say you don't even trust your teammates. You can invade after your very first clear all Kayle camps on cooldown, because Kayle isn't a champion. Every early to mid game champion kills Kayle instantly. Elysian insta-kills her, Kha'Zix insta-kills her. But the issue is, if your team doesn't want to play with you, the Kayle will be given time. And if the Kayle is given time, she will eventually reach critical mass and then carry the game. Every game is +1 or -1. And you constantly face worse players. So if I were to give you a list of things that are problematic, given this entire issue, we have Sona, we have Soraka, we have Kayle. Kassadin, he is way better, but still similar issue. All of these champions are happy. All of them are happy if nothing happens. And what happens in most of the games? Nothing. The same issue with inting side lane or just split push. The best way to climb on top is to brain dead, run down and push. And your champions for this will be Jax, Fiora, Sion, Garen, Volibear can do it. Like all of these champions, right? But these two here are very, very powerful. The issue with Morgana jungle is she isn't a hyper carry compared to the Kayle. Because the Kayle will start one-shotting. Because of Kayle, third ability is an AoE splash damage. And she does so much damage, plus having invulnerability. That is one of the issues. Plus you play against bad players. And Kayle has a movement speed steroid, which allows her to get close. So that's one of the issues. A very big issue as well. And since she is allowed to have DPS, because she has consistent damage with the way she attacks, she can basically kill teams instantly. And it gets very, very difficult to punish her later on. Like, you need to punish Kayle early because she's weak, but since nobody does anything because they don't know what to do, this doesn't happen. So Kayle completely goes off control. There are so many Kayle players that are climbing. They're playing like 500, 600, 700 games, I don't know. And they're climbing. And every single time you have them, they're completely non-existent. And the thing they're banking on is that they're playing against worse players. And every game is +1, -1. And you'll play against worse players more often than you'll play against good players. So you will climb. The same applies to this thing here. You just have Hullbreaker and you just push. You just push. And because the enemy will not do anything most of the time, you will get away with it. And that's one of the biggest issues. And the only way to fix this issue is to make people better at the game. But if there's no inherent drive to make people better at the game, it will never be fixed. Not to forget to mention that we simply lack players. So yeah, it's just a very unfortunate state where we can't do anything about this outside of just making people aware of this and praying that they learn. And so what I can do as a person, coming back to why I'm doing what I'm doing, Zillacat, giving people who want to learn a way to learn, to at least for themselves have ways to deal with this. So yeah, the point, but not everybody sees your content. Yeah, but people see the content and maybe people talk to other people and then it spreads. Like there's only so much a person can do. And if nobody does it, then how can anyone even expect anything to get better? It has to start somewhere, no? I will try to do this for every role over the time because I want to make this more or less the main content outside of more edited videos. Because I personally have not much joy playing the game right now as to all the problems it has. So what I can do though, I can help people get better. So maybe over time, the player population gets better at the game. That is what I can do. If it works, it's very cool. We're all happy. If it doesn't work, well, at least I've tried. I'll also have a talk with Leroy about the matchmaking. So we'll see a different perspective on that one. Yeah, I'll tackle support as well at some point. Now I'll talk about AD carries. I mean, yeah, it's good that people started taking Herald more often, but the issue, like, the same thing applies again, right? Let's say your team cannot win a fight right now, right? Then obviously going for the more contested objective is too risky because then you give the enemy, okay, let's go back, okay. Herald versus Dragon. Your team weaker, enemy team stronger. You can't contest, you have to trade. Losing Herald or Dragon doesn't lose the game, but dying for it certainly does. I say dragons are bad, and if more people run to Herald now by default and just all die, it's the same issue again, because the underlying problem was not understood. Dragons by themselves are useless, or not as impactful as people make them out to be. But the bigger issue is all people dying. Like, 3 people die at Herald, enemy gets Herald. That is an absolute terrible scenario. Like, in an ideal world, you know you can't contest, so you don't go. And then just losing Herald or Dragon will not instantly lead to you losing the game, because just the objective alone is not the biggest problem. The best priority objectives are just killing them instead of stealing Drake Herald. Yes, that's possible. Like, for example, if you are stronger, if you are the stronger team, you can contest both objectives, obviously. But it requires a certain understanding of vision setup to know when the enemy goes for it, and then you go in and kill them. But still, people can react. You can still give up. And even if you give up both objectives, not dying is effectively more important than getting Dragon or Herald. Yeah, you only get lower lobbies. You only get master lobbies, master GM, and it's terrible to play. And again, like, you can even win games if you lose both objectives, because the gold difference that will be created by dying as a team at an objective is so abnormally big that it outvalues the objective value. So many people just randomly die for fun, and the death itself is so impactful. It's very difficult to have fun in a game where the skill disparity is so big, and I completely understand this. I mean, Riley, let's just imagine you're a Sovereign player, right? Like, Riley is Sov, and you play on EU. If you queue as a Sovereign, chances are you only queue with GM, Master, rarely Chell. Hello. So by definition, since you are the highest rated player in every lobby you play, you will always be 1v9. You will be forced to 1v9. Because nobody is on your level because there's not enough players. And you can't escape this problem because the only way to fix the problem is to fix the existing player base or get more people to play this game from, for example, the PC version. And it is utter pain to play like this. It is. But it's something you have to accept if you play on the European server, on the NA server. I mean, you can take a look at Starting Stream, you can take a look at Chronic Stream, you can take a look at Leon's stream, you can even take a look at my stream. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's so tempting to do these things, I agree. Because it feels good, right? Like taking the objective objectively feels good. But the issue is, the things that the objective provides is just nothing. Just nothing. I would start talking, like, I've waffled enough, right? About this right now, okay? But now I'll go to AD carry, okay? So now we'll start with AD carry. Enough of this, enough rant, enough QQ. We'll tackle this again with Leroy, and we'll talk about AD carries now.